Hey, howdy. My name is Makiba, and this is my first YouTube video. So I figured I would do like a booktuber review type of thing. So the book I'm going to be reviewing today is Girls with Sharp Sticks by Suzanne Young. This is one of my favorite books of the year, and it's full of a lot of wild shit. So I figured I would review it, like tell y'all all the wild shit that happens, say what I liked and didn't like, and some of the things I would change. So the book starts out with our main character, Mina, and she goes to an elite all girls school. And there's a lot of sexist things that happen there. Like, all the girls are encouraged to only follow what the men say, everything that they know is law. Like, they have a full makeup regimen that they have to follow, or else they're not allowed to even go into classes. So they have to like adhere to the uniform at all times, or else they're labeled as being whores. However, when it comes to events when they're allowed to dress up, the teachers will leer at them and be like, oh, that skirt could be a little shorter. You could show off a little more cleavage. So it's just this very, like, you see right off the bat that something is not right with the school. And Mina has a very close knit group of friends. And one day, one of her friends, Lennon Rose, like suddenly disappears. And as she asks around, all the teachers are like, oh, well, she had to leave because of money issues. The school's very expensive. Not many people can afford it. And Mina's immediately like, okay, that's really suspicious. Like, her shoes are still in her room. She definitely wouldn't leave without at least telling all of us first. So Mina does some more digging around and she slowly starts to realize things are not quite right with the school. Like, for example, they have to take vitamins at the end of every night. And one day Mina is sick, so she ends up throwing up the vitamins so they don't take effect on her. And after she throws up her vitamins, she quite literally is able to like see the school more clearly for what it is. And there's another girl, Valentine, who's like the weird girl of the friend group. And she kind of comes over to Mina and is like, listen, I also stopped taking my vitamins. There is definitely something wrong with the school. And they find this poem conveniently titled Girls with Sharp Sticks, which basically is kind of like this small poem about girls that are rising up against, the men that are in charge of them. And Mina's third eye just wakes the fuck up, and she is just like, what? How could a book like this even exist? And Valentine's like, yeah, stuff like this exists, and this shows that we shouldn't just be following everything that the men have to say at our school. So Mina tells her other friends, like, hey, don't take your vitamins, you'll thank me for this later. And all of her friends are starting to slowly realize that something's not right with the school, something's not right with the men of this school, and they all start to realize that they do, in fact, have their own voice. And eventually the school does catch on and they put the school on lockdown. And anybody who is caught disobeying gets put in impulse control therapy, which is this very intensive therapy session that everyone tries to avoid. So during this lockdown, the girls all decide, okay, like, we can't afford to stay here any longer. We need to get out of here. And the girls have a bodyguard named Guardian Bose. And their plan basically is to sneak past him while he is sleeping and all the other teachers are sleeping and make an escape out through the gates. And there is Mina made a friend on the outside named Jackson, and he agrees to like come and rescue them basically and pick them up in his car. So the night of their escape, pretty much everything goes wrong. The Guardian is awake, he catches them trying to escape, and all of the girls try to fight back. And Bose catches them sneaking out, and he's like, oh, you little bitches think you can get past me? And they do. And it takes all of their strength. One of the other girls, I think Sydney, she almost ends up dying, but they are able to kill Guardian Bose. And eventually, they do try sneaking down to the basement because they know that's where the impulse control therapy takes place. And they know that if they can see what happens there, they can also find out some answers. So they get down to the basement and they see one of the other girls basically laying on a table and her head is cut in half with her brain showing. And there are wires and like electrodes coming out of her brain. And that's when the ultimate twist comes out. Turns out they were all robots, basically. The main focus of the school is creating the perfect girl by any means necessary. And that they did used to take in human girls, but it was hard to really train them to be perfect. And then eventually they decided, hey, why don't we just make robot girls essentially, train them to be perfect, and that way we can like show all the investors, hey, here's what we can do, give us money basically. So they did that, but again, because the girls were robots, it was hard for them to really have a personality, and the investors didn't want to pay for a girl that, had a robotic personality. So then they figured, okay, we'll make girls that are robots out of like organic body parts and everything, but we will give them a free will to make them more interesting, more spirited, and that's exactly what they did. So Mina and all of her friends are sitting there and they're like, holy shit, we are all robots. And we've had like barely any free will this whole time because after we graduate from the school, we're essentially just going to get either sold off to like whatever investor was paying for our education, or we'll go back to our families, quote unquote, people who paid for us to come here, and they're going to, do with us what they will. So that's when these girls have had it. They decide to fight back with all of their force, and they are able to escape from the school. And as they all pile into Jackson's car, basically they're just like, okay, we have to destroy this school, like, so no other girl has to go through all of the shit that we've been going through. And in the epilogue, do you remember how like Lennon Rose had like originally disappeared at the beginning of the book, and all the teachers were like, "Oh yeah, like she had to leave super quickly because her parents didn't have money for school. She didn't even have time to put on her shoes. That's how fast she had to leave." Turns out that actually was somewhat true. Basically, there was a big popular investor to the school, Winston Weeks, and he had taken an interest in Lennon Rose, and he had told the headmaster, "Hey, I really like this girl. I want her to like be my student. I want to mentor her before you guys have any chance to like possibly corrupt her any further." So one morning she's woken up and she's told, "Okay, the biggest investor of our school wants to have you as a student, so hurry the fuck up and go to his car." So she literally didn't have time to like put her shoes on because she was like hoisted out of bed and like rushed into his car basically. And the last page of this book, it kind of wraps up in a neat little bow with another poem called The Girls with Razor Hearts, and coincidentally that happens to be the title of the sequel book. Into what I liked about the book. What I really liked was how Mina had such close relationships with all of her friends. Like, they really were like some ride or die people. And at one point, Mina herself has to go into impulse control therapy, and they don't forget about her. They don't abandon her. The second she comes out, they're on the job helping her remember her memory, helping her get back to the original plan. And it really was just so sweet, like the genuine love that all of these girls had for each other. So basically, here's what I didn't like about the book. I actually really didn't like the character of Jackson. He's the boy that Mina meets on a field trip outside of the school, and she does develop a crush on him. And there is nothing wrong with his character. He just is kind of there. I just didn't really care about him that much. I mean, in Mina's world, pretty much almost every person she interacts with is a man outside of like her own friends and the other students. Like all the teachers are male, the headmaster's male, and they all turn out to be assholes. So Jackson's kind of like the one guy who's not a dick basically. And I'm just like, okay, that's nice, but congratulations on not being a dick. What, do you want a medal or something? It's like he just really didn't do anything for me. Like, it's nice that he does help her escape and everything, but I don't know, I just didn't really care about him that much. Also, another thing I didn't quite like about the book was that there were a couple plot holes, like when the girls do find out that they were all robots essentially. One thing that confused me was that they were still able to get periods. The girls mention getting their periods at different times in the book. So I'm just like, well, wait a minute. Like, if they're robots, even if they are made with organic parts, why bother giving them periods? I feel like, if anything, this definitely would have helped to the creepier aspects of the book and the different horror parts of it if it was revealed that, like, oh yeah, these girls don't even have periods. Like, that's how little agency they have over their own bodies, and that can be like another clue to show that something is wrong with them because of this school. A little more horrifying if someone outside of the school asks Mina, "Oh well, like, what do they do, like, when you girls have periods, do they have like products available?" And Mina just goes like, "What the hell is a period? Like, I don't have that." I feel like that would have been like just a little bit more creepiness to have added to the book. And lastly, here are some things that I would probably change about the book. I definitely would have made the character of Jackson a girl, just because I feel like it would have been a little bit more impactful for Mina to find a relationship with a girl who doesn't go to the school, who isn't affected by the school's policies, and who, I feel like that could like really help Mina a little bit more, especially since this book, like it really does show like the importance of like girl friendships and stuff. I feel like it would have been it would have been like a little bit better to see Mina getting close romantically with a girl and having this girl help her realize like, hey, shit, there's a lot of shit at your school that's like really fucked up. I would change is just I would probably like really amp up some of the creepiness factors of it and some of like the horror factors. Like for example, during impulse control therapy, we learned that essentially the school's psychiatrist Anton, he essentially just takes an ice pick and jams it behind the student's eyes and just kind of wriggles around in there to get rid of any memories or any feelings that are like unsavory. So I would just add stuff to like really ramp up the creepiness factor to show like from point one, things are not quite as they seem. Like for example, I feel like not having the girls have their periods would also be like a really huge part of it. But overall, this was still like one of my favorite books of the year. Like I'm really looking forward to the sequel. I think the sequel's coming out possibly like March of next year, maybe. But either way, I can't wait. I really hope you guys enjoyed this review. Like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram. I'll put all the links like down in the description. And I would definitely give this book like 4 out of 5 sticks. I really, really enjoyed it, and this is something I like. It really just made my summer to like really be able to read it. And I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you later. Have a good one.